Drop your trousers and get ready to sign the Book of the Beast because it's episode 2 of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and this one has abs. Picking up where we left off in episode 1, Satan Pope tells Sabrina about the Book of the Beast, the most ancient tome in existence. The beast referring to the monster that appears during the apocalypse in the Book of Revelation. In order to become a witch, she must sign this book at her baptism, but first, she has some questions. Faustus tries to quell her apprehensions, telling her that the devil isn't the embodiment of evil, rather the embodiment of free will, and that by signing the book she won't go to hell because that's only reserved for mortals. Witches are exempt. She brings up her boyfriend and Faustus tells her those relationships are discouraged, mainly because he would age much faster than her. The only reason her mother and father were allowed to wed was that the Dark Lord made an exception. She discusses what she saw when she bit into the Malum Malice, stating that the future she saw was horrible. But was it the future? In episode 1, we see the 13 hanging witches, which apparently happened in 1692. Regardless, Faustus says the use of a Malum Malice hasn't been recommended for decades because of its unreliability. We also get a sweet view of his manicure. He makes an impassioned speech to get her to take the baptism, that, should she not like it, she may leave the church at any time. But before he goes, Ambrose brings up the mysterious witch's mark he found in episode 1. If it is what they think it is, it could mean a witch hunter is on the loose. The boy himself was adopted by 2 mortal parents who didn't know he was a witch, leaving him defenseless, furthering Faustus's argument that Sabrina should choose the path of night so that she can learn to protect herself. Faustus also tells Ambrose that it's unlikely a witch hunter is out there, but he'll be sure to bring it up with the council. Hilda tells Sabrina that Faustus used to be her father's mentor, but her father surpassed him in powers, which leads me to believe that there might be some animosity here, or something he isn't quite telling her. Sabrina asks Hilda if she had any doubts about her baptism, to which she tells a strange story about walking through the forest and watching it burn. But little do they know, Zelda is creepily eavesdropping from the ceiling, and Salem is eavesdropping on Zelda. Jeez, is there no privacy in this home? Harvey surprises Sabrina by showing up for breakfast to ask Sabrina if she wants to celebrate her birthday the day after her baptism, but we know if she goes through with it, she won't be able to. Even sadder is how Harvey thinks they can spend every Saturday together. Remember back in episode 1 that Sabrina put a spell on him so that he'd forget about their conversation about her being a witch, so he still doesn't know she'll be gone forever. Back at the school, the jocks rip up the Wicca poster and Susie goes Rambo, but gets knocked out. Not only that, she's the one who ends up with a suspension. Sabrina presses her, asking who was responsible, and she goes to Puppet Master Miss Wardwell, demanding that these boys be held accountable. The last thing Sabrina wants before she leaves is to leave her friends in trouble. Miss Wardwell says sometimes the only way to fight fire is with hellfire, and Sabrina knows just the witches that can help. She summons Agatha, Prudence, and Dorcas and makes a deal. If they help her teach the jocks a lesson, she'll agree to stay at Baxter High, and of course she's crossing her fingers when she says it. They agree, warning her because they're her enemies, she'll have to do most of the work. An angry Aunt Zelda has some great one-on-one time with Hilda, smashing her face with a hammer because she's getting in the way of Sabrina becoming a witch.
I am no man.
We then see her finishing the grave as the parents of Connor, the stab boy, arrive to look at their deceased son. Ambrose treats the parents to tea and questions them about Connor. Apparently he loved talking to his lizard, and Ambrose tells Zelda he believes it could have been the boy's familiar. The jocks drink beers outside the gas station because, you know, that's the cool thing to do, when they're interrupted by Sabrina and the girls who are looking to party in the abandoned mine because, you know, that's a normal thing to do. The mines are called the Devil's Doorway, with one shaft leading directly to hell. The girls lead them to the Devil's Lair, where Prudence exclaims it's getting too hot, probably because they're close to him, the devil. And they do what teenagers do in abandoned mine shafts, take off their clothes. But the boys are under a spell and tricked into kissing each other. Just wait until Baxter High hears about this. If any of those boys touch Susie or harm a girl again, those photos will be plastered all over the school. But Prudence isn't done with him, going a step beyond what Sabrina asked and playing Devil in the Dark, in which the lights go out and the girls spook the boys with their demonic faces. Not only that, the girls stole their boyhoods and trapped them as canaries. Until they're released, the boys will remain impotent. Prudence is shocked to hear that Father Blackwood came and visited Sabrina, as if these girls needed more reasons to be jealous of her. Sabrina tells them of her doubts. She doesn't want to give up her freedom of power. She wants her friends and to be a witch. Sabrina asks Harvey if he were given the choice of superhero powers but had to give up his friends, would he do it? Then he gets all romantic, saying if Sabrina was his girlfriend, he'd say no. There's no flying in his life without her. Hilda returns from the dead when Zelda warns her each time she's killed, it takes longer for her to resurrect. Apparently this isn't the first time Zelda's killed her younger sister. Older sisters are given the right to kill their younger siblings as many times as they please. She tells her she won't have her swaying Sabrina in anything other than the path of the night. If not, she'll be killed again. And look at this, even more eavesdropping. What is with this? It's then my favorite time of year, Halloween, the night of the dark baptism. I even love the little witch on top of the weather vane. Hilda prepares Sabrina's mother's wedding dress to wear for the dark baptism and gives her words of encouragement. At breakfast, Zelda tells Sabrina that she and Hilda have errands to do. She's already called the school saying that she won't be coming in today, which pisses Sabrina off because she hasn't had a chance to say goodbye to her friends. At Baxter High, Miss Wardwell inquires to Mrs. Meeks about Sabrina's whereabouts before taking an unhealthy amount of jelly beans. Sabrina asks Ambrose if she'll be able to see her friends on the weekend, and the news isn't good. Witches are not to have meaningful connections with mortals. It's highly discouraged, and if she doesn't follow the rules, she'll be weaned off the mortal world, slowly forgetting about those she cares of most. Zelda and Hilda go to pick up a black goat likely to be used as a sacrifice in the ceremony. Harvey comes to pick up Sabrina for one last night together dressed as a miner. He invites Ambrose to the party, but he's under house arrest and will be banished to the Netherrealm if he were to leave. Then Sabrina reveals herself in her mother's wedding dress, and Henry almost loses it at how beautiful she is. Thank goodness his canary isn't in the mine. Ambrose reminds her to be on time for the ceremony, or it'll be hell to pay. Literally. Roz welcomes them to the party and they do the monster mash before a mock cake is made to celebrate Sabrina's birthday. While slow dancing, Harvey asks Sabrina what she wished for, and she says more of this. Sabrina, you dummy, you're not supposed to tell your wish to others. She then makes Harvey promise to remember her, no matter what. But before she can tell him why, they're interrupted by Roz, who excitedly explains the blood moon is out, reminding Sabrina she has to get home. She says one last passionate goodbye to Harvey, telling her she loves him before leaving him bewildered. As the blood moon darkens, Sabrina rushes through the forest to make it to her dark baptism. Under the blood moon, her dress transforms to black and blue flames protect the entrance to where the ritual's to take place. She's greeted by Faustus, who begins the ceremony. She's disrobed and kneels before him, asked if she would like to be free and forsake the path of light to follow the path of night, to put the Dark Lord above everyone in her life, including her friends and family. She agrees, and Faustus leads her to sign the book. Also, Miss Wardwell is eavesdropping. Faustus cuts her hand with a dagger and pours her blood over the book, and Sabrina experiences flashes of the 13 dead witches, the same thing she saw when she ate the Malum Malice. Her name must be signed in her own blood, and when it is written, she must obey any order received by the Dark Lord or from any figure he has placed in authority over her. Sabrina calls bullshit, telling him that's not what he said, and we see the goat has transformed into the creature she saw emerge from the old tree. Faustus told her she would have free will if she signed the book, but now she's being told she must obey any orders given to her by the Dark Lord. Sabrina's doubts get the best of her and she refuses to sign. Aunt Zelda says, "Don't you dare," and Sabrina sees her mother telling her to run. And that's exactly what she does, but not before she's entangled in the roots of the forest. She manages to break free, asking for Ambrose's help as she's chased by dozens of witches and warlocks. She's given one last chance to sign, but Sabrina remains steadfast.
My name is Sabrina Spellman, and I will not sign it away.
And Faustus does not like that. He closes his big-ass book and marches forward when Ambrose the Necromancer casts a spell in the house, granting only Spellmans the ability to cross into it. But we find out it's not a spell, but just enough to trick the witches into backing off. Miss Wardwell tells the Dark Lord she's failed him, and we see the cross, which was once face up in episode 1, now upside down. She pleads for mercy and must kiss his hairy feet. Which I can't help but draw a connection between the hairy feet baby and episode 1. Next morning at breakfast, Sabrina receives the cold treatment from her Aunt Zelda, who seems to be reading from a Russian newspaper. You can even see the flag of the Soviet Union here. Zelda tells her she humiliated the family in front of the entire coven, dishonoring the Spellman name. But Sabrina tells her this wasn't what she signed up for, literally, and that she saw her parents in the woods. Ambrose calls this a spectral vision, and Sabrina tells them her parents didn't want her to sign the book. At Wicca, Wardwell arrives telling Sabrina that as long as she's at Baxter High, she wants to work very closely with her when she's interrupted by Principal Hawthorne. Hawthorne is pissed about the club, but suddenly time stops. The Dark Lord takes control of him and tells her he will stop at nothing until she signs that book. There's no way she can defeat him because she is mortal, and on that ominous note, the episode ends. I have no idea where this show is going. I'm writing these episodes as I go along, and you guys are probably way ahead, but I'm most curious about how she's going to retain her powers if she didn't sign the book. In episode 1, Ambrose tells Sabrina that witches who do not sign slowly lose their powers. Is she willing to give that up in order to be with her friends, or will there be, like she said, a third way, a way to do both? With the amount of people wanting her to sign, something tells me this isn't the last time we'll be hearing from the Dark Lord. And finally, the most important question remains unanswered. Will the jocks get their boners back? Stay tuned for more breakdowns of Sabrina, and make sure to give it a like and subscribe with the bell on. I haven't watched all the episodes yet, but I'm going to try to get out these videos as fast as possible. And as always, I love to hear your comments below. And if you post spoilers, they'll be hell to pay. So stay tuned.